If you're in a competitive market where everyone looks the same, sounds the same, and wins business on price, then this video is for you, because I'm going to show you how I went from competing in one of the most cutthroat industries out there, commercial energy, to winning clients, securing 5-figure monthly commissions, and building real momentum without being the cheapest. And if you stay with me until the end, I'll show you exactly how you can start doing the same in your business and how we can break it down together. When I first left the police and moved into commercial energy as a business of my own, I walked into a world that felt absolutely brutal, even in comparison to the world of policing. Everyone was quoting, everyone was price matching, and everyone was undercutting each other just to win the deal. It was fast, it was transactional, and honestly, a bit of a race to the bottom. And at the start, I played the game. I thought that's what sales was. It was what I was told. Get the quote out, be competitive on price, win the deal. Within my first few weeks, I secured a couple of really solid clients. And I remember thinking, I've cracked this, absolutely amazing, me taking a bet on myself to go into business. But what I didn't realise at the time is that I hadn't actually cracked anything. I just got lucky playing a game that wasn't sustainable. Because what started happening next was this constant pressure, clients asking for better prices, competitors undercutting at the last minute, deals slipping because someone came in cheaper. And I found myself stuck in this loop of chasing, discounting, and trying to keep up. And that's when things really started to move along for me, because I realised something that completely changed how I approach sales. And this is the first lesson. Competing on price is a losing game, not because price doesn't matter, it does, but because if price is the only thing you're leading with, you've already lost control of the conversation. I started to see it like this. Imagine you walk into high-end restaurants. You're not just paying for the food, you're paying for the experience, the service, the atmosphere, the confidence that it's going to be right. Now imagine that same restaurant trying to compete with a fast food chain on price. It just doesn't work because they're not in the same game. And that's what I had been doing. I was positioning myself like everyone else as a commodity. So of course I was being compared on price. But once I changed my approach, everything really moved along and changed for the better for me. Instead of just sending quotes, I started to ask better questions, going back to my time as a detective. So I'd ask things like, what's frustrating you about your current supplier? What's gone wrong before? What would a good outcome actually look like for you? And what I realized was that people weren't just buying energy, they were buying certainty. They were buying trust. They were buying someone who could help them make the right decision without it coming back to bite them later. I started communicating value differently. I'd walk clients through the risks that they hadn't considered. I'd explain how contracts actually worked in real terms. I'd help them understand the long-term impact of the decisions that they were making. And suddenly, I wasn't being compared in the same way anymore. I wasn't always the cheapest, but I was the only one that they trusted. And that trust allowed me to win deals I had no business winning off price alone. This leads me on to the second lesson, which was that the way that I was taught to sell was already outdated. This is where I might ruffle a few feathers here, because a lot of what I'd learned early on came from people who had been in sales for decades. And don't get me wrong, they did know a lot. They had experience, had resilience, they understood the fundamentals, but they were also operating in a different era. It was very much push harder, handle objections, close at all costs, ABC, always be closing, right? And what I started to notice for me was that buyers just weren't responding to that anymore. They were more informed now, they were more skeptical, they were more aware of when they were being sold to. The old school, slightly aggressive transactional approach just didn't land in the same way. So I took a decision. I wasn't going to be that kind of salesperson, especially as a woman in business. I didn't want to feel like I was convincing people. I didn't want to rely on pressure. And I definitely didn't want to build a business on tactics that just didn't sit right with me. So I moved into a different way of operating, which was consultative selling, understanding the person in front of me, helping them to think, guiding them to a decision and not pushing them into one. It isn't about being nice. It's about being effective, and it's about being of value. Because when you position yourself as a trusted advisor instead of a salesperson, you completely change the dynamics. You move from chasing deals to being invited into conversations. And that leads into the third lesson, because once I understood value and once I shifted how I sold, I needed a way to get in front of more of the right people. This is when LinkedIn really changed everything for me. And if you don't know already, I went to a LinkedIn workshop when I was really at the end of my tether. And at that live workshop was a man called Tom Mallons, who was doing the talk on how LinkedIn had changed his business and how he was helping other people to do the same. He'd been in manufacturing in a very tough industry, much like myself. So really, for me, it was worth a look. It was worth exploring how LinkedIn could work for me in my business, especially as a lone parent at the time, trying to juggle parenthood, business management, a home, all of those things. I was understanding up until that point, most of my activity was reactive. It was calling, following up, and chasing. But LinkedIn gave me visibility in a way that just blew my mind at the time. It allowed me to show people how I think, what I believe, how I help with my products and service at scale. And this is where something really clicked for me. The wonderful Mark Schaefer says this in his book, Known. It's not about who you know, it's about who knows you. And when I started showing up consistently online, sharing insights, talking about the mistakes people were making, explaining things in a way that made sense to them in my particular industry at the time, commercial energy. People started recognizing my name, they started engaging, they started reaching out. And instead of me always having to push conversations, some of them started to come to me. And I earned a 5-figure monthly commission check. Now, that didn't happen overnight. And it's important to recognize that fact because a lot of people try LinkedIn for a couple of weeks, they don't see instant results, and then they write it off. But when you commit to it properly, it compounds. And over time, it becomes one of the most powerful tools you can have for building pipeline. So when you put these 3 things together, stop competing on price and start leading with value, move away from outdated, pushy sales tactics and become a trusted advisor, and build visibility so the right people know who you are. You move out of the noise, stop chasing every opportunity, and you start building a pipeline that feels predictable. And more importantly, it feels sustainable because you're not relying on luck, you're not relying on referrals, you're not relying on being the cheapest. You're building something that really works. It's a real lead generation engine. Now, if you're watching this and thinking, this sounds great, but I don't know how to apply it to my business, that's exactly why I wanted to make this video, because this is what I help people to do every single day. It's what we do in our business and what I go out and help clients do as well. So if you want to break this down properly, look at where your current lead generation sales process is falling short and map out what this could look like for you, book a strategy session with me. We'll go through what's working, what's not, and what needs to change to get you from where you are to where you want to be. The link will be in the description somewhere around this video. And if nothing else, take this away. You don't have to win on price. You don't have to chase clients. And you don't have to sell in a way that doesn't feel like you. There is a better way to do this. And once you see it, you won't go back. Take care until the next time.